Thank you for joining me for this short update from the Baltimore-Washington Conference Council on Finance and Administration. I am Dr. Daryl Williams, Vice President of the Council. This update is for the churches in the Baltimore-Washington Conference as we conduct the mission share verification surveys. Specifically, I will give you more information about the proposed change by CFA that we use a 3-year average for the base calculation in the 2022 mission share formula. As a reminder about our standard budget process, the 2020 statistics are used to support the 2022 mission share formula. This is the formula that determines how the 2022 mission share budget is distributed between churches within the conference. In general, the 2020 statistics show that our BWC churches have remained financially stable during the pandemic. Praise the Lord. The left column on this table shows that the reported PPP funding of $6.2 million made up for the $6 million decline in tithes and offerings. But declines in building use and fundraising income caused a total income for BWC churches to be down $6 million. This was offset by more than $19 million in total expense reductions during the pandemic. The impact of these expense reductions results in a $10 million net gain in 2020 compared to a $3 million net loss in 2019. Each year, the CFA uses statistics provided by our local churches to project income for next year's budget. This process evaluates each component of the mission share calculation. The mission share formula enables a comparison of your church's expenses relative to the expenses of other churches to fairly distribute the total proposed mission shares requested in the conference budget. As churches took so many paths to weather the financial impacts of the pandemic, the CFA found that it forced dramatic changes in the expense comparisons and unfair shifts in how mission shares would be distributed between churches. These shifts were caused by these pandemic-related factors. Did your church receive PPP and state funding, or did they not? Did your church pull from reserves, or did they not? Did your church lay off staff or reduce their pay, or did they not? Did your church worship online? Did your church worship in person? Did your preschool close, or did you keep it open? Did your church lose building use income that is essential for sustaining your ministry? The list can go on and on and on. The CFA also observed an anomaly in the statistical data. BWC churches reported $6 million of PPP funding on the stats report. However, the Small Business Administration database indicates that $11 million of funds were received by BWC church addresses. This observation appears to indicate that some churches did not include PPP paid expenses in their final report. Overall, the CFA concluded that the 2020 expense statistics were so greatly influenced by the pandemic that they are, by themselves, an inadequate measure for fairly distributing the mission shares of the 2022 budget. After evaluating several approaches to this situation, the CFA believes that the best resolution is to use a 3-year average of the expenses that include 2018, 2019, and 2020. This averaging will provide a stabilizing element to the distribution so that extremes involved in the 2020 expense changes do not create a list of church winners and church losers. It also enables us to recognize some of the impact from the 2020 expense reductions. We believe this is the fair way to proceed, and it will be part of the overall budget presentation that will be voted on at our annual conference this October. It is of note that a similar instance occurred in the Baltimore-Washington Conference with the 2009 statistical reports. The CFA proposed a change to the mission share formula that year to use the prior year expense data for calculating the distribution of mission share expenses. And as I close this update, it is good to know that the 3-year average of expenses supports the CFA's strategic reductions in the conference budget from the $14.3 million budget in 2019 to an estimated $12 million in 2024 or 2025. The 2022 budget proposal is $13.1 million. I would also confirm for anyone who is concerned about the conference's cost control measures this small bit of insight into last year's financials. As the 2020 mission shares were received at $1.2 million less than the budget of $14 million, the actual expenses of the conference were reduced by $2.1 million or 11% to offset the decline in mission shares and to also cover a $640,000 loss in the shuttered camping programs. These cost controls are net of the added relief that was provided to churches in many forms throughout the year, and we continue to be on pace to be debt-free by Q3 of 2022. I hope that this update provided your church with the additional information you needed during the mission share verification process. We sincerely appreciate your help and as we collect your verification surveys over the coming days. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.